Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this final part of our virtual field trip series. I'm Mary Wilson with the Alabama Farmers Federation. I can't believe that we have gotten to the end of our virtual field trip series so quickly. So, thank you guys so much for participating in this, for watching, and especially here the last couple of weeks as we've been doing this. But thanks for joining us for the last couple of weeks because we know that it truly is summertime now for your kids. So this is just additional education and a fun educational trip. So we appreciate you guys watching. We have lots of fun activities that are going to be linked in the comments, and you can do those to keep learning about cotton once this field trip is over with. So don't forget about those. And we do want to do a roll call this morning as well. So in the comments, just let us know where you're watching from. That's always fun for our farmers to see how many communities across the state of Alabama we're reaching, and even if we're reaching other states as well. So that's your roll call request in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, whether you're watching this live or even if you're watching it recorded later. Now, today, our topic is going to be cotton, and Alabama is in the top 10 of cotton producing states in the US. And we call this trip is called Cotton and Other Row Crops. So, cotton is one of the row crops that you'll see in the state of Alabama. And those are like the bigger fields of crops that you see. So, soybeans, peanuts, cotton, corn, wheat, we consider those row crops as opposed to maybe like strawberries, which are still planted in rows, but usually on a smaller amount of land. So that's what we're talking about with cotton and other row crops. It's an important ingredient in our clothing and other linens that we have in our homes, but it's even in some places that you may not know about, like in dollar bills. So we wouldn't have that without cotton. So if you have questions about cotton, throw those in the comments. And now I will stop talking because you're all here to see our farmer today, and that's Garrett Dixon. He is over in Lee County. So everybody say hey to Garrett. And Garrett, I'm going to let you take it away. Start off by telling us where you are in Lee County, and also if you want to join from your phone now, we won't do any of the. It won't do any of the weird feedback that we had. We do some stuff behind the scenes before we start these, just so y'all know. So we practice this a little bit.
Well, good morning, guys. Like Mary said, I'm Garrett Dixon, and I farm here in Lee County. I'm the 5th generation of my family to farm this land. We settled here in the late 1860s, and a lot of that same land is still in production today. Cotton is our main crop. We also grow peanuts, but cotton is certainly my favorite crop. That was the crop that I enjoyed the most when I was growing up. My granddad grew it, and I have a lot of childhood memories playing in the cotton fields. We're about 30 minutes from Auburn University, War Eagle, and you may pass by our place if you're going to Columbus, Georgia, or if you're kind of taking the eastern route down to Panama City through Dothan, you might come by our place. Other than that, it's kind of hard to get to. So let's see. Well, we start off, to start the cotton crop, we start in the fall of the year prior by planting a cover crop. We use a rye-based cover crop, which you can kind of see out here in the field behind me. Rye is the main ingredient. We also have two other crops, or two other plants within that cover crop mix, winter peas and tillage radishes. The cover crop builds the soil and helps retain moisture for the growing season. So it all starts in the fall after we finish harvesting the crops from the year before. After that, we begin to terminate the crop by spraying it. And I've got my sprayer right here. We drive over the fields and apply a burn down, which terminates the cover crop and prepares the ground for us to plant shortly thereafter. When we spray, you know, a lot of times people think we're just dousing the crop with chemicals and things like that, which really isn't the case. We apply 15 gallons per acre of water, and so I've got 3 5-gallon buckets to indicate that. And of that water, only about 42 ounces of it is a chemical. And we use very safe chemicals. Roundup is one of the most safe chemicals we can use. Um, 42 ounces and 15 gallons per acre means that about 98% of what we spray is water. The other 2% is the actual herbicide. And so we use really low rates. There's over 40,000 square feet in an acre. So if you think about the size of your house relative to an acre of land, you realize that we're really not applying that much herbicide to get the results that we would like to see. All of our sprayer that we use for cotton and peanuts are all GPS guided, and they have rate and section control to make sure we put out exactly what we need and where we need it, and not any more, because we try to be the best stewards of our land, and it also saves us time and money. After that, we go into spreading chicken litter for fertilizer. We use a lot of chicken litter here on our farm. We're relatively close to chicken houses, not as close as we would like, but it's a really good fertilizer. It helps build the soil. And in our sandy soil type, the chicken litter hangs around longer than commercial fertilizer. That's the main reason I like to use it. It works out really well for us, and the cotton never runs out of nutrients as long as it keeps raining. Again, we use the GPS guidance so we don't overlap or skip areas with the chicken litter to make sure we cover the field evenly. And we also use rate controllers on those spreaders where the GPS and the computer automatically make sure the rate stays the same across the entire field. We like to use chicken litter, like I said, because it really helps the crop out and helps build our soil, but it's also a byproduct of our largest commodity in the state, which is poultry. And they have to do something with the chicken litter, and spreading it on the fields is a great use, and it's kind of like recycling something that they can't use, and it's something that's really important to us. So after we spread the chicken litter, we start to strip till. And if Robin shows the ground right in front of her, you'll see where we have some cotton coming up in the strips. We strip till straight into the cover crop, where we try to reduce the tillage as much as possible, or get as close to no till as we can, kind of down here in the southern part of the state. And the strip disturbs as little soil as possible, which means our soil retains moisture longer. And it also suppresses the weeds, and it doesn't allow them to come up as easily. So that reduces our herbicide cost and herbicide use, as well as helps it to keep growing when it turns off dry. And as we say around here, we're always a week away from a drought. We got a little over a tenth last night and 3/10 Sunday and Monday. And until then, it had been about 2 weeks before, or 2 weeks since we had a rain. So these cover crops were really paying off for us then. The strips are kind of hard to plant into, especially in a heavy cover. I think we've got some pictures of the strips. I may have skipped ahead. There's a picture of the strip, and so it's kind of hard to see from the tractor seat, and it makes it challenging to plant. So I'll back up now, Mary. I'm sorry about that. But as you can see, we're planting into this thick cover crop, and we have a nice mat behind the planter that's laid flat that kind of covers the soil like a blanket would. That reduces erosion and helps build the soil fertility over time. Soil fertility is not something that happens overnight, and going back to our sandy soil type down here, it's very hard for us to build any organic matter. So we focus heavily on these cover crops for that. When we plant, we typically plant the cotton seed very shallow in the soil. Sometimes we go a little deeper based on where the moisture is, but it's really tough to chase moisture with cotton. You can plant peanuts, for instance, about 3 inches deep, but with cotton, we try to be an inch or shallower because it's such a small seed. And Robin wants to come up here and show you some pictures of the seed. This is how small the cotton seed is. And we have to put that in the ground, and it's tough for it to come up if the ground gets real hard and crusted over, and it doesn't have the energy to pop out of the ground. After it comes up, Well, we should have a picture of it cracking the soil. That's the cotton plant kind of pushing the soil out of the way to come out of the ground. And the harder that ground is, the harder it is for the cotton to push up. So we can run into challenges trying to get that out of the ground, and then you have to go back and replant, which takes time and money. If you plant it too deep, like the graphic says, it will be tough to come up. A heavy rain right after planting can make that worse. And here we have a little plant that I just pulled up this morning. That's what the cotton looks like when it comes out of the ground. It has two little leaves. We call them the cotyledon leaves. And it'll stay like this for a few days. And it'll eventually get to where it puts on a true leaf. And there you have your more, the beginnings of your more typical cotton leaf shape. It looks a little more like leaves you would see on any other kind of plant or bush. All right. And like what I was saying with those strips, it's very tough to see them from the tractor seat. So we use the GPS guidance technology to be in the exact right spot when we come back to plant. It's tough to get on top of these beds at times, especially with a heavy cover. And using the sub-inch accuracy with the GPS, we can be exactly where we need to be within an inch and plant right back on top of that strip. And once we come up with a guidance line, which you can see there in the picture, it's red, we will follow that same line for the rest of the year on every application we do. Once the cotton's up and growing, it typically gets somewhere around 3 to 4 feet tall, depending on your management practices. When I was asked how tall it got, I was not sure what answer to give because I just know how tall it is on me. So that's kind of, but the picture you see there, that's about how tall the cotton plant typically is. And that's about mid to late summer, if I had to guess, based on the way those plants look. About 60 days after we plant, we get the first, it begins to start blooming. The first bloom, the first flower is white, and after it's white, it turns into a pink flower. After the flower turns pink, it falls off shortly thereafter, and it leaves behind a tiny bowl. Most of the time, the bowl may be the size of your thumb, and it eventually grows into the green bowl you see there that pops open that has the cotton inside. In mid to late September, we begin harvesting the cotton. The cotton picker has spindles within the head that grab the cotton as you drive down the row, and it uses an air duct system that blows the lint into the back on the basket. The basket then, once the picker's full, dumps into the bowl buggy. This allows us to stay in the field longer because we don't have to drive out to the module builder every time we get full. And if you have longer rows and really good cotton, which is a great thing to have, you would potentially be spending the majority of your time driving from the field to the module builder if we didn't have that bowl buggy. Once the bowl buggy's full, then it goes to the module builder, which is the big green thing on the right, and that packs the cotton into those tightly packed modules. A module typically for us will have around 18 bales of cotton in it once it's ginned. And then once that bowl buggy's empty, it turns around and comes straight back to the cotton picker to catch the next load. After we build the module, we put a tarp on top of it to protect it from the elements, and we call the gin and let them know that we have some modules ready, and they send a truck to come pick it up. Once it's at the gin, cotton is sent through gin stands that separate the lint from the seed and other plant materials, usually trash from the leaves or just trash from the outside environment that is common. The gin stand uses little saws to separate the seed from the lint. And the gin produces a finished bale at the end of the process that weighs anywhere between 480 and 500 pounds. And that lint right there is, or that bale of cotton is shipped to the cotton mills where it's spun into yarn and thread for various articles of clothing or anything else that you can make out of cotton. Then once all that ends, after we finish picking the cotton, we bush hog our cotton stalks and we begin planting our cover crop for the next year. And so we end right where we started, getting ready for the next year. We're always hopeful that the next year is better than the one we're currently on. Um, and so it's just a never-ending cycle. You get probably 40, 45 chances to do this, and every one of them is special.
All right, Garrett, that was fantastic. So, did you have anything else there on the table that you wanted to show us, or did we get it through everything there?
Well, we have some cotton bolls from last year's crop, and if Robin wants to come up here, this is what the lint looks like when we get ready to harvest it. And the spindle comes in and pulls the cotton out of the bowl and leaves behind this brack. And if you take the lint, when it goes to the gin, it separates the lint and the seed, and it leaves behind seed that looks similar to the seed that we plant, except it still has a little lint on it. So
Very
that's all I
cool.
had on the table.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. So now it's time for questions. So if you guys have any questions, please throw those in here. But let's see if there was anything else that oh, when it comes to the cotton modules that y'all build, how long can those stay in the field before before a gin comes and picks those up?
That's a good question, and it kind of depends. It depends on what the weather's like and what the field conditions are that it's in. We build the rectangular modules, so they're built on top of the ground. So if we get a lot of rain, they can't stay in the field as long. We try to build them on the higher points of the field so that if rain does set in, the trucks can still get to them and get them out. Plus, you also don't want water running downhill, and the cotton will soak it up like a sponge. But if you've seen any of the round modules that some of the newer cotton pickers will make, they're wrapped in plastic similar to what you would see on a hay bale, if you want to think about it in that regards. Those modules can stay a lot longer because they have plastic underneath. It can't absorb moisture from the ground. But generally, we try to get them sent out pretty quick after we get them built, just because it's easier for the gin and easier for us.
So tell us about the gin. How far does your cotton have to go to get to a gin?
We go about 40 miles to the gin. It takes about 45 minutes to get there. It's down in South Russell County, just a little north of Eufaula, if you know where Lake Eufaula is.
All right, perfect.
About 15 or 20 years ago, there were 3 gins within 10 miles of us, but that, as the dynamics of Alabama has changed, and as Lee County's gotten more populated, that's kind of gone away.
Okay. So it takes it's a little farther distance than maybe it was a few years ago to get to your gin.
That's right.
Okay. Well, we do have a question from a viewer, Linda Henson. Her son Ian is wondering, how long does cotton live? So from the time that you plant it until the time that you harvest it, how long are you talking?
Well, we generally plant at the beginning of May, and we typically start harvest in September or October. You're going to make me count on my fingers here in front of everybody. But that's about 4 or 5 months.
Gotcha. All right. So when it is springtime, so you mentioned that you guys plant the rye crop and burn down and all of that, but so springtime after planting until harvest, what are some of the things that you guys are doing on the farm?
Well, after we finish planting, we kind of take a breath of relief knowing that part's out of the way. We will typically spend time working on equipment, because a lot of times we may have something going out on a piece of equipment towards the end of planting, so we kind of limp it through until we get a chance to fix it there after we get through planting. Then it's just kind of normal crop maintenance. We keep an eye out for pests, whether it's weeds or insects that could damage the crop. We spread fertilizer on the cotton to give it a little extra boost as it goes into the blooming season. And then we've got a few head of cows on the farm, so we take care of them, and we try to it's just kind of a maintenance mode. We maintain the crop, maintain the land to the best of our ability, and get ready for that harvest season.
All right, we've got a few more questions. And also, if you're watching and you have a question about cotton or cattle as well, or other row crops, just throw those in the comment section and we'll pull them up here. We've got one from Dennis Shearer. He's wondering, how much does an average cotton module weigh?
Well, that's a good question. If we have 18 bales in it, 18 bales of 500-pound cotton. So you have to take out the seed and the trash and whatnot. So I believe it's for every 500 pounds of lint, there's around 12 or 1,300 pounds of seed and trash. So
wow,
probably
that's an impressive number.
36,000 pounds.
Wow, I didn't realize that so much of the weight is actually the seed, but it also kind of makes sense because the seed has a little more weight than the lint does, even though you're talking different volumes. There you go. There's an education lesson. Volume versus weight. All right. So another question that we got from Vicki Watkins. She's wondering what cover crops you plant. And I guess, too, if you want to go into some of the benefits of different cover crops.
Well, I'm no expert by any means, but we focus on the rye because it tends to hang around the longest. We've experimented with different blends over the years. We try to have a three-way mix of a legume that puts some nitrogen back in the soil, a cereal crop like this rye, and that leaves a lot of biomass that can stay on top of the ground, and the tillage radish we put in to kind of break up any compaction that we have over the course of the year. We've done, like I said, we've used wheat in the past, but the wheat is a lot shorter than the rye, and it tends to break down quicker. So over the course of the summer, the wheat's no longer there, but in the places where we've had rye, the rye will hang around, and generally you can still see rye on the ground when we're planting the cover crop in the fall.
All right, good deal. So next question we have is from Joey Scarborough, and he's asking, is cotton your favorite crop to grow? So if you want to go into any of the history on your farm too about cotton, because that's kind of cool.
Definitely is my favorite crop to grow. It has a historical significance to our farm here. I think I have a lot of nostalgic memories from growing up as a kid, and when I would get in from school, I would tell my mom, take me to wherever my granddad is because I want to ride cotton pickers. And I would ride cotton pickers and run wagons with my granddad until dark. And that's what I lived for as a kid. And that was back when we hauled cotton on wagons instead of building modules. So you could climb up and jump in the cotton like it was a swimming pool. And so for me, there's a lot of memories from my childhood that are kind of make cotton special to me. But from an agronomic standpoint, as a farmer, cotton's very resilient. It handles dry weather better than most crops, and it loves the heat that we have here in Alabama. So it really fits our climate here. And when you throw peanuts in the rotation, you have a really good agronomic rotation for your farm that can help increase the fertility of the soil and produce better crop with less inputs.
All right. It looks like we have one last question coming in here. And this one you kind of mentioned before, but we'll actually have you on camera this time so you can talk a little more about it. How tall does cotton get? Also from Ian, Linda Henson's son.
I would say anywhere from 3 to 4 feet. It kind of depends on the farmer and his management practices. When I was asked this question the other day, it was kind of hard for me to give an answer because I don't come out with a tape measure or a yardstick and measure it. I just know it comes up to about here on me. So however tall that is. And I'm 6'3". So
Right. So a little taller than waist height on somebody who's 6'3". All
that's
right.
right.
So I have one last question for you, just from myself. So it seems like cotton has become popular as a decorative item, and also people like it, or they enjoy getting their pictures as a family in the cotton field. So have you seen people do that on your farm, and what's kind of the best way to work with farmers to do that if you're a photographer?
Well, the first thing that I would suggest, and this is something that we do as a farm, we try to open 1 or 2 weekends every fall, and that kind of can vary based on the weather and where we're at with picking the crop. But we try to set aside at least 1 weekend in the fall, and we charge a small fee to have people come out and take pictures in the cotton. If they want to take a little cotton, we can work something out with them on that. Um, the biggest thing is that just kind of gives us an avenue to talk about cotton and facilitate having them come onto our farm. We found that a lot of times people will see the cotton field and just help themselves, which is not something we particularly care for, because um, it damages our crop and can expose us to some liability issues. But if you wanted to approach a farmer about taking pictures in his cotton field, or looking at it, the best thing to do would be to contact that farmer yourself. Um, Most farmers love telling about their farm and what they do, so they would probably enjoy that opportunity. Um, and that would probably allow you to work something out with him without going into someone's field, because I know there's a lot of plants in this field, but that's a farmer's livelihood. And so every time a boll falls on the ground from walking through it, that's one boll that we can't harvest. And so if you have a lot of people out in your field, that adds up.
All right, that's a perfect answer. Now, Garrett, I've had a request that we meet your videographer. So, could you and
Okay.
Robin switch and just put Robin on the screen real quick? Is she willing to do that?
I don't know if she's willing to be on camera or not. She
Okay.
says no.
I noticed that pause. I was like, wait. Happy wife, happy life. I'm gonna just
That's
hang back
right.
here.
And
All right. Well, now we can take this moment to everybody. Please say thank you to Garrett and to his lovely wife, Robin, who's working behind the camera to bring you this virtual field trip today. Thank y'all so very much.
Thank
This was
y'all.
extremely interesting, and yeah, we'll get this posted to our website too, so that everybody can see it and learn more about cotton. So, all right, everybody, say thanks and bye, you guys. All right. Whoop. There we go. Oh, I'm not Garrett Dixon. I have the wrong banner up. Let me take that down. All right. So, a huge thank you to Garrett and again to Robin for being our last virtual field trip and for sending us out with such a wonderful, informative field trip today. Now, before you guys leave, I have one last request from you because this is the last one that we're doing of this series. But in the comments, if you will, let us know what you've thought about these, if you've enjoyed them. If you did enjoy them, then and you want them to continue, let us know what commodities you'd like us to talk about, what other types of farms you have questions about, and also what time of year like you might be most likely to watch these because things have been a little different than usual. So I think that's one of the reasons we've had so many viewers. So as things get back to normal, would you watch these kind of in the fall at harvest time or in the spring? Timing and what other types of farms you would like to see would be a huge help if you'll comment with that. Don't forget about the activities too. I don't know if you guys are tired of me saying the word activities. I feel like I say it about 100 times in each of these, but we have activities. So we've got the coloring book page that you can color. It has a fun little Hawaiian shirt in there that's made out of cotton. We'd love to see the colors that people color that in. And then there is an ag mag. It's a 4-page. Again, you can print these in color if you have a color printer, and they show up in color if you look at the comments and the links. This one, it doesn't have an activity with it, but it does have some geography because it has the United States down there. shows the top 10 cotton producing states. So you could have some fun identifying the rest of the states. And then there's also a map of the state of Alabama that shows the top cotton producing counties. And make sure that your kids know where they are on this map. That's always an important thing. So those are some different things that you can do. And let's see, there's also, oh, hold on one second. I'll call you right back, Garrett. All right. There's also the harvesting image match from My American Farm. And one of the little harvesting pictures on there is of a cotton picker. And then there's also like how you harvest cranberries, which that's not an Alabama commodity, but you can learn about how you harvest some different things. And then there's also math, which is great. So that's like the different field shapes and what kind of acreage there is. Let's see what else we got. Okay, there's a full teaching unit linked from the Alabama Ag in the Classroom. Also another teaching unit from Kansas Farm Bureau, which is Cleo Cotton's Big Adventure. The last one that I'll mention is one from Cotton Inc. And it's really good. It's for 4th through 6th graders. It has this big long thing for parents and educators, but then there's 3 different activities in a poster that you can do. This one encourages you to look through the clothing that you have and see what you own that is cotton. So if you're doing a clean out during all this time, this could be fun to do with the kids just as an additional educational moment, not just a, hey, let's find stuff to donate, but let's also look through what we're donating and see what's cotton and what's not. The second one could make laundry fun because it talks about cotton and how other mixes hold up to being washed and dried. And then this last one is a sustainability activity. So it's cotton and how to protect the environment and how farmers help the environment with all that they do. Definitely for older kids, 4th through 6th grade. And then the last thing that's in there is a fun little poster that tells you about things that you can use cotton for, including dollar bills. Did you know that cotton was in money? It is. And the cottonseed oil is used for things like potato chips, also bread, cereals, and snacks. So you can tell people that you can actually eat cotton because of the cottonseed oil. You thought it was just for fiber, but it's for food too. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us, for watching these virtual field trips. We hope that y'all have learned something and that you've gained even more pride about our wonderful state and the farmers who do so much to keep us all happy, healthy, well-fed, well-clothed, well-sheltered. And at some point in the future, we might be doing more of these. All right. Thank you all again. Have a great week and happy Memorial Day. Bye.